little more
Okay, do we know when the
comfortable.
Other kids, the sixth grade
Yeah.
kids? No. That I don't.
Order at 6:15. First item on the agenda, election of chair. I'd like a nomination. Anyone like to nominate?
I'll nominate Sean.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 All righty. So now, thank you, Wayne. So now we need a nomination for vice chair.
I'd like to nominate Kayla.
All right, we have a nomination for Kayla for vice chair. Is there a second? All right, I will make the second.
Oh, I was gonna try to unmute, but okay.
Go ahead. Did you want to do the second?
No, you can go ahead.
All right, so I will second the nomination. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of Kayla as vice chair, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
I'll abstain.
I'll abstain.
So 2 abstentions. All right, so motion carries. All right, let me just quickly do some of the legal stuff. Everyone, this meeting tonight is being recorded. We're holding this meeting to conduct the business of the Hinsdale School District in accordance with Emergency Order 12, which is allowing us to have, in this case, one of our members participate remotely. We're still maintaining public access to the meeting. So Holly, just for the record, could you state your name, location, anyone there with you, and reason for attending remotely, please?
Holly Kennedy, I'm at my home on Plain Road. Matt is here, but not in the area where I'm, watching the meeting. And I'm home because he's recovering from surgery, and this week he can't be left alone for any extended period of time.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. All right, so the first thing up, I need a motion to accept the public and non-public meeting, public and non-public minutes of April 14th.
I'll make the motion to
Second.
accept.
All right, motion in a second. Any discussion, corrections? Questions? No? All right, all those in favor of accepting the public and non-public minutes of April 14th as presented, say aye.
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 Hi.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. So I'm going to move a couple of these agenda items around a little bit, if nobody minds. I would like to start off with the schedule of year-end events, since we have some student reps with us. That way you guys don't have to sit through like every last boring thing we talk about. I mean, unless you want to, but so who wants to kick us off with that?
Well, Olivia Pangolin is class president and Haley Steve is the vice president, and we thought they would share their senior and days and number of events.
Okay.
So on May 28th, we're gonna take our senior trip to Lake Winnipesaukee. And it's gonna be from 8 a.m. to 10:30, so it'll be a full day for us. And we were just gonna go to the fun park, fun spot, shopping, and a cruise, a dinner cruise.
Cool.
Also, we would like to discuss class day. It will be on June 11th at 9:30 a.m. in the gym. And we plan on setting it up just like the town meeting was set up. The bleachers will be pulled out and the chairs will be spaced apart. High school students will be going down to class day, and the middle school students will be watching from their classrooms online. And masks will be mandatory to be in the building, and this will also be a full day for the seniors. And for class day, Chris Roberts will be streaming it.
Okay.
And then for graduation, it will be at 10 a.m. Chairs will be spaced apart outside and masks will be recommended.
Mrs. Freitag, did you want to add anything?
And just on class day, only the high school students will be physically present for the live performances that the students are going to go through. And we're going to have those streaming into the classroom so that the middle school students can still watch class day, but that'll be just in the gym. We think that's a safer option. These seniors have worked really hard. I would recommend that maybe you don't come in the building a week from Friday. They have something planned a week from tomorrow. But you may want to come in if you're free. I think they've been a wonderful class, given all the circumstances that we've all had to endure this year. So I am very grateful for their maturity and I'm grateful for their maturity and how well they've worked with everybody this year. Awesome class. We're gonna miss them.
All right.
Also, on behalf of the class of 2021, we would like to thank Sean Leary for to have our graduation filmed for us.
No, you're very welcome. I was gonna do that for my kid anyway, so I'm like, why not share it with everybody? So, awesome. Thank
for
you.
that.
I appreciate that. I'm a little embarrassed.
I know you were.
Did I?
Nice
Well,
to take the
I
rest.
wasn't expecting it because it was just something that I was just gonna do. So, okay.
Sean can't handle things.
I can't. Yeah, it's a thing. Does anyone have any questions for student reps or for Mrs. Friedad? Holly?
I have one question. So graduation, it sounded like they said that the chairs would be spaced apart. Are they not going to do pods? They're just going to space them? Because they had talked about pods. I mean, I don't care either way. I just want to clarify.
We're believing right now that very like the district meeting, that we'll cluster the chairs and people can pull them apart. We're going to try to be flexible. There will be seating for elderly and those with health issues under a canopy. We know that's a problem. Yeah. So at this point, Holly, we're not really setting up pods because we don't know how many family members will show up.
Okay.
Did you need any extra tents, like smaller size tents? Or do you want any on standby in case you need like a family
I'm
tent
gonna
pod?
take your name and
I think I have 3 that I can lend you.
That might be very helpful.
Okay. I usually have 4, but I think I lent one out to someone and I don't know who. So I'm gonna say 3.
Okay, thank you.
All right,
Thank you for that.
no problem. Anyone else have any questions? No?
Nope.
All right,
Thank you.
so I guess we're good.
Thank you, ladies.
You are
Congratulations.
welcome to stay, but if you don't want to, that's fine too.
Thank you so
All
much.
right, thank you. All right, let's go through and do our committee assignments. Let me just get that page out here. All right, so, yeah, committee, so the personnel committee. Right now, I believe that's my.
And this is last year, so it's the teachers.
Right, so it's the teachers union this year. So last year it was Holly and myself. Holly can't be on it this year because we're doing the teachers. You wanna do
Yeah,
it?
so it's you and Kayla, I thought, because you're in that little group.
Unless Julie,
Yeah, Julie can take that one.
you
Yeah,
want
that's
that one? All right.
Well,
And it's-
we had this discussion last year because Julia has a family member in the unit.
In this unit.
No,
Not
not
in
for
teachers.
the,
For the teacher, well, that's how Sam is classified. He gets paid with that stipend, but I'm just reiterating the conversation from last year. That's all.
It's a stipend position. It's not a certified position.
Yeah, but it's voted on as part of the CBA. I just I'm putting it out there because it is in the CBA, but I mean, I don't really care. Like I said, we discussed this last year and that's what we kind of decided, but okay.
He was grouped with,
No, she's correct. The advisors are added to the
oh, because he's
CBA.
an
Mhm.
She's
advisor.
right, because
Yeah.
class advisors, the
Okay.
athletic director,
And athletic director, yeah.
Oh,
his
okay.
position as ISS supervisor is separate. So
That's in the other unit.
Yeah.
He's in both, he gets paid out of both units.
Right.
Okay. So are you okay with Kayla doing it?
I'm fine.
I mean, she doesn't benefit from his pay though, so if she wanted to do
It's whatever you guys want. I'm just reiterating the conversation from last year. The decision was made and the best practices. So I just want to be on record to say that.
So under these circumstances, I don't think it would apply. It's not a financial benefit to the household.
Mhm.
So it's up to the board.
Okay.
I think it would be appropriate for me to do it. If everyone would feel more comfortable with me doing it, that's fine.
I can find either way.
I'm fine either way.
Okay, then I think Julie, go ahead.
All right. You want to do it?
Yeah.
All right. And is everyone okay with me doing that as well? Yes, okay. All right, health and wellness. Right now, it's Jim and Julia.
I'll stay on it.
You want to keep that one? Jim? Is everybody okay with Jim and Julia staying on that?
Yep.
All right, cool. Representatives, so here's a question, Wayne. Budget committee and finance committee, are those gonna be two different committees or one?
I didn't know what to do with it, so I put this over here.
Yeah, because I thought. there
Yeah,
were
I
two.
think it makes sense to be one, and the finance committee would do some things prior to the time when the member met with the budget committee, so there'd be two people.
Okay.
And I think it would coordinate what we would take to the board. It
Mhm.
would help inform the administration work, and it would be the liaison to the budget committee. You may only have one official member on the budget committee.
Yeah.
The finance
Yeah.
committee could be two people.
Okay. All right. So we're gonna put the finance committee work in with the budget, and right now that is Holly and Kayla. Did you guys both still want to do that, or?
I would like to still do it just because there's so much carryover from the craziness of this year. I think it's good to have somebody who is involved with all the craziness.
That makes sense. Yeah. And did
Yeah.
you want to stay?
Yeah, it could be the member for finance and then stay the alternate for budget.
Yeah, and then you could, and you would both be on, you can both go to the meetings on finance, and then Holly would be the
Yeah.
primary on budget.
Right.
And then you'd be the backup on budget.
Yep.
Jim, are you okay with that?
Sure.
All right, then that's Holly and Kayla. Staff development. Right now, we have Kayla and Julia on that.
Mhm. Yeah, I'd like to stay on that one.
Do you want to keep that one? Is everybody okay with keeping that the same?
Yep.
Holly, you good with that?
Yep.
Legislative and NHSBA. So that's Jim's right now.
I'll stay on it.
All righty. Everybody okay with Jim still doing that? I mean, he does a great job on
Great
that,
job,
so. All right. So emergency management, we have as all members. Do we want to keep emergency management on here, or do we want to fold that into something like, just fold it into facilities and have some, like that report out if there's something?
So currently, emergency management is primarily taken care of under facilities.
Yeah.
And since we meet once a month, not quarterly, as the old facilities committee used to, I think it would cover it and it wouldn't be in any way redundant and save you some time.
Is everyone okay with taking that off of our committees and just rolling that into the facilities committee?
Yeah.
I had a question with that. Does
Sure.
that mean we have to discuss it every month or
No, just, I would think just as something came up.
just as,
Yeah, and frequently with facilities, we're looking at expenditures that improve the safety.
Yep.
The only thing we would be adding would be a review of any changes that we would have in our emergency policy relative to intruder alerts, when we shelter in place, those kinds of things. And I think we're pretty solid, so I don't see that as a big burden right in the near future.
Okay. Ann, did you have something?
I know that Joe and I have talked this summer that we'll want to review the emergency operation plans. We've got one now. So we like somebody available this summer so we can meet with probably Chief Rataj and Chief Zavarani at the very least.
yeah, I can do
Yeah.
that. That's the report we have to
Yeah, the
submit, right?
emergency
Yeah,
operation
so
plan.
I'm available for that.
Good.
All right. So are we okay with merging that into facilities and?
Yep.
Yep, all right. And how about doing something similar with the Wyndham Career Center? Like, I know, it says all board members, but, typically either the superintendent or the high school principal would go. And if there is something, couldn't that just be added into their reports?
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say, since I've been on the board, we've never done anything.
We have once,
Have we?
since I've been on.
Oh, okay. So-
Yeah.
So, and I believe the percentage of students that we have participating, because we have such a robust ELO program,
Yep.
that it's really not as impactful
Right.
on daily operations. So I think it'd be better as a report out.
Okay, is everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right, then we will take that off of our list. All right, Hasp Advisory Board. Right now, that's Kayla and myself. And I'm okay doing it, or if someone else wants to do it, I'm fine either way.
I would like to stay on that one.
Did anybody else want to do that or?
I mean,
okay?
it's been several years since I've done it. I was gonna say I would like to, but if you want to
No,
both
I'm-
want to stay on it.
No, actually, I'm happy to do less.
Yeah, I figured with your work schedule, it's one less
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, all
Yeah,
right,
so
so,
I can be the alternate for that.
all right, so everybody okay with Holly and Kayla?
Yes,
Absolutely. All right. And then we have representative to the selectmen, and right now that's myself and Holly. As in years past, I'm gonna be there anyway,
Mhm.
just because of the other boards I'm on.
If
Holly?
anybody would like to take my place on this one, I'd be fine with that. But I
Okay.
can also stay the alternate because as you said, I very rarely had to go.
Right, I'm there anyway.
Yeah.
Anybody else did have an interest in that one?
Nope.
Okay. Holly, you okay staying the alternate?
Yeah.
Is everybody okay with me and Holly?
yes.
All right. Facility and maintenance. Yeah, so right now that's Jim and Julia.
Yeah, I'll stay on it.
Want to keep that? Is everybody okay keeping that the same?
Yep.
Awesome. Community connections, right now that's Kayla and myself. You want to keep that one?
Yeah, I'd be good keeping that same.
Did anybody else want to do that one, or did you want to keep that the same? That's fine. Same. Holly, you're okay with that? Keep it the same?
Yeah, I think you guys have a good system down so far, especially with the social media stuff. Just, let you guys keep going with that.
All right, awesome. The tuition implementation committee, and right now that is, Holly, is that just you or is there someone else too?
It is just me right now. It was me and Gina, and then it kind of got put aside for COVID. So I don't even know if we're really still pursuing this. I'm not sure. That would maybe a question for Wayne.
Are we keeping that one on there for now? Or?
So we've been waiting for direction relative to legislation, and there was legislation that would enable any student to attend any public school in New Hampshire and carry their adequacy amount with them. So it may be folded into the legislation before it's all over. It could be folded into a budget bill. So I just think maybe we revisit it. And if Holly wants to keep her name here, and then we can, in September, if it doesn't look like we want to do anything, in my own mind, it still could accomplish a need, and that's to reach a critical mass in some classes and therefore reduce the cost per student. And sometimes that becomes the only issue that people sort of focus on, not understanding that we have all the requirements of any comprehensive high school, for example. And we're not always going to be able to fill 20 kids in a room with the same type of curriculum material. So I think it's nice to keep it there and keep talking about it. I just don't want to put a lot of energy into it in still some COVID related experiences we're dealing with.
So we just want to we all just want to just keep that as a placeholder the way it is right now? and
Yeah.
Revisit it later?
Yeah.
Okay. Holly, you okay with that?
Yep.
All right. And then the behavioral support committee, and right now that is Kayla and Julia.
Like to keep going.
Did you want to keep that one?
That's fine. I can, if somebody else wants to touch on too. I'm on a lot, so.
Did anyone else have an interest, or is everyone okay with Kayla and Julia staying on that?
I'm okay with that.
I'm okay with that.
All right.
Joint loss isn't on here, so I'm on joint loss right now. I can keep doing it if somebody else wants to. The meetings are typically like a Monday, once a quarter at 3 or 3:30. So I don't know if
Do
anybody-
we usually have one person on that or two? One? Is everyone okay?
We have to, the membership has to be balanced.
Okay,
It can only be, if there's 3 administration, there has to be 3 teachers.
okay.
3 support staff and teachers, so we have to keep the membership balanced.
So there's a formula on that.
There's a formula,
Okay.
a state RSA.
Gotcha. Okay. Is everyone okay with Holly staying on that, or?
Yep.
Yep.
I'm fine if anybody else wants it too.
It
Whichever.
sounds like it's yours.
Right.
All right. Was there anything else that was missing or that I may have skipped over? I don't think so.
Well, the new ones, right? The search committee.
Oh, that's the search committee. That's not the.
Oh, that's
not
separate.
the
Okay.
committees. Yeah.
Sorry.
All right. So do you want to do that like once I was moving a few agenda things anyway. Do you want to move that up, Jim, or?
Yeah, I kind of considered it part of the same
All right, so let's move up.
task.
Let's move up items 7 and 8. Those are the search committees. Why don't we start with the search committee for the business administrator?
Great, we have so much interest. in it.
Well, I
I
sent
know.
out an email and I gave you everybody that was interested.
We- All right, hold on, I just gotta find it here.
And we also got one in after that. I put
Yeah,
in.
I did
Yeah.
see that.
Well, that one is for the director of special
Yeah, there's
services.
a lot of
Right.
interest in that one.
Yeah.
So let's do the business administrator first. I just need to find everything. 'Cause I'm doing it out of order.
Mine lined up well. I don't know what I did to my packet, but it's going.
Mine
in
is
order.
perfect, right, I know.
Okay.
It actually was right after the committee.
Yeah,
Was it?
was, yeah.
Right after the committee. The next page is the business administrator.
Well, that's because
Yeah,
there's.
see
Oh, yeah, right there.
We didn't have
Good.
anything about Memorial Day or.
Right,
Right.
that worked out well. Yeah, and right after that is all the letters.
Right.
Okay, so what do we need to do for this one? Because it looks like we've got,
So you would approve the list, and if you approve the list of names that we have, then it's as written. If you want to discuss the membership, if you feel that this doesn't represent the group you like, or if you feel that you might want additional people, I would suggest to do that as non-public.
all right, so what do you guys think about the list here for business administrator? Did you want to accept that as it is? Do you want any changes or look at something different, or what do you want to do?
I would make a motion to accept the list as is.
I'll second that.
All right, so there's a motion and a second to accept the search committee for business administrator as presented. Is there any discussion?
I just had one question. Did I hear that? So we only had like one interested person when they put out the call? Or is that what you said?
Yes, I put
Okay.
everybody who answered the email concerning these
In
two
here.
search committees in the.
Okay, because I thought somebody said somebody came later, but is that for the other one, right?
There's this is not, that's for director of student
Student
services. So
service,
we're doing
okay.
business administrator right now.
Okay, that's
So
what I
business-
thought. I just want to make
Yep,
sure, because,
yep.
because, I have no problem with the person, but it's just, I would consider them administration, but if we didn't get any other interest, I think they're, perfectly fine. So just wanted to make sure.
Any further,
Administration.
which Holly, which person are you talking
Patty.
about?
For Patty,
Patty?
I would call her, wouldn't she kind of fall more under administration than teacher? But that's fine. I mean, if she's interested, I think she would be great from what she wrote.
Yep,
The only one.
Yeah,
right,
Yeah.
so,
and she is part of that, like with the grant and everything,
Yep.
so that, I think that's
I think
fine.
I think it's okay, I'm okay.
Oh,
with it.
absolutely. Me too. But that's why I just wanted to make sure, because, technically, but I think it would be great too. That's all.
All right, any further discussion? All right, all those in favor of accepting the list of the people for the search committee for business administrator as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so that one's done. And now we have the search committee for the director of student services. So we have, as far as community members, we have the letters that you guys have in your packets,
Mhm.
and then we got an additional one.
So Holly doesn't have that.
So
one.
Holly, you don't have that one?
Nope.
Do you want me to like send a picture? Do you want me to send a picture of it to you, Holly, or something?
I mean, does Anne have it in her email or anything? Or, I mean, do you think you can capture it with a picture? I mean, if you think you can, go ahead.
Hold on, just hold on one second. Let me see if I can forward it. If I can sign on. Sometimes I have trouble signing on to our,
If not, let me know.
let's see. Filter. Let's see. Letter of interest. This one. Forward. Holly.
I'm looking for an email or a text, an email.
You're looking for an email.
Okay.
And supposedly it's sent. So you should
Yep.
have something pop through.
Yep, I got it. Thank
All
you.
Great, sure.
Oh, it's long. So yeah, a picture might not have worked.
So I'll give everybody a minute to read that letter since it wasn't, since we didn't really have it to the prep packet and stuff. Does anybody need more time?
Nope.
All right, so we have three people. We have Samantha, Kim, and Becky. Does anyone have any thoughts on who, could we need to pick two out of the three?
Do we also have to narrow it down from 3 to 1 for teachers?
Yes.
Oh, geez.
So is this something that would be better off done in
Oh,
non-public?
Yeah, I
Is it?
think it kind of needs to be.
It's certainly anytime you're talking about a choice
Mhm.
between people, non-public is.
Yeah.
All right.
So I would make the motion to move this to non-public.
You got it.
I
there a
will
second?
Yeah.
All right, let me just make myself a note. Any discussion? All those in favor of moving the selection of this committee into non-public, say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Opposed? All right.
I would like to know that I thank everybody for
For the interest.
I know,
interest.
Oh,
that's
absolutely,
amazing.
yes.
We've gotten a lot. from-
Great.
Okay. Let me just do some stuff here for my own organization. Oh, not there. Okay. Now go to not pile. Myself a note here. That's a check, that's to non-public. All right, so let's go back up to our agenda list and we'll go to the Memorial Day Parade discussion. Who wants to?
I'll lead that
right.
discussion. Mr. Hartnett approached me a few weeks ago about this. We did participate, I think 2 or 3 years ago. Just a march from the cemetery up to the VFW. He suggested that we consider doing it again this year. So I told him that I would bring it up at a meeting and thrown it out there.
All right, what do you guys think?
Yeah, I think that would be nice. And I
Basic-
could go this time.
Basically, we hold signs.
50 hold signs. So I could probably do it, except I'm getting my second shot a day or two before that. So
So you'll be
I'm
pending.
just gonna throw the caveat that if I
You're
start,
sweating, don't worry about it.
exactly. If I grow another head, then I probably won't be attending.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't have any details about the timing or anything like that, but I don't have any problem with doing it.
Okay. Holly, what do you think?
I did it last time with Jim and Gina and Wayne, and it was great. So I can do it. I just want to put out there, yeah, I've been having some trouble with my, walking in my legs lately, so I might not the morning of, that's all.
All right.
But I will be a yes, as long as my MS cooperates.
Okay.
And have-
And
I believe that the elementary school will be marching also as
Okay.
a group. Deb Carrier sent out some information, so it might be nice if you guys
Yeah.
marched in front of them.
okay.
that would be
All right.
very nice.
Jim, would you be willing, as, times and meeting places and all that come together, would you be willing to kind of spearhead that and keep us informed?
Yeah, I'll be seeing John on Saturday for the golf tournament, so I can get for the details and let you know.
Awesome.
I'll let Ann know and she can distribute it.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Is everybody okay with that?
Yep.
Yep.
All righty. So let's move on to our remote learning discussion.
So Karen Thompson spoke to the board last month, and as you know, she is the Director of Personalized Learning and has been coordinating our remote teaching learning program. So I think she is the one that's hearing from parents and students in regards to status for next year. So I think Karen would probably be the most appropriate person to kick the conversation off.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Hi, yes.
Yes.
So thank you. I just wanted to revisit the conversation that we had last month in hopes that maybe the board would consider putting out a statement that allowing parents to start to think about what is our tentative plans for the fall. I know that you were concerned last month that it was too broad of a statement to make, and I completely respect that. So I'm hoping that maybe we can fine tune that statement to say that we are anticipating a full opening, if that's in case what we are anticipating, and I hope we are, that we will be back in person in the fall, and that I would like to recommend that we put some sort of a statement out like that, and that we revisit it. We let the parents know that we will revisit that statement every month, and if something was to change, we would have to shift our plans. And we would make sure that we let them know that monthly throughout the summer. I feel like it would be helpful for the parents to begin to understand that things are going to get back to normal at some point, and also to understand that this remote option will not always be there for them. I really feel strongly that many parents are not understanding and not hearing that this is not always going to be there for their child. And also, I think we all agree that we want to get everybody back into the building as soon as we can. So it's my recommendation that we put out some sort of a statement that is expressing what our anticipated thoughts are for the fall.
We also did get a letter today via email, which it came in, early this morning. So that's on your desk right there from the Hinsdale Federation of Teachers. And their position is pretty clear here. So Paula, can we make a note in the minutes that we did, the board did get this letter. So I was able to read this later on in the afternoon when I got home before coming here, and my own personal opinion is I kind of agree with everything that Sarah was talking about here. Does anyone else have any thoughts on the actual letter itself, the points that Sarah made?
No, I thought it was well written and well presented, and I agree with what you said.
Holly?
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with almost everything she said. I just want to clarify that the remote option was mandated by the state. So there are some things in here that make it sound like we decided, and it was mandated, and if it's mandated again for the fall, our hands are going to be tied in that. I mean, we can look at how we deliver it again, because I think the way we delivered it was it can be made better. But and then the only thing that I would like to also clarify is, since this went to the board, technically, it's a public document. So I just want to make sure, clarify number 10, that being remote was supposed to be for medical reasons, not for students. The governor said any parent that wanted their child to be remote they didn't have to give a reason. That was for staff to be remote. So I just want to make that clear, that it was never medical for students. It was any reason per the governor. But other than that, I agree. I agree with everything. I mean, it's not, we should, if we're not forced, if we're not mandated to offer it, I agree that I don't think we should.
Okay. How do you guys, I mean, obviously there's a lot that can happen between now and the fall, and you haven't really been presented with anything yet. from the administration, because they need to still work on all that, but how do you guys feel about, how do I want to word this? How do you guys feel about expressing our intent that, barring some resurgence of the virus or some resurgence of some, unforeseen whatever, that it's the intention of the board for everyone to be back in school in the fall?
Yeah,
How do you guys
Yep.
feel about that?
I
Yep.
think
I
that
think
would
it's
be,
time that, we haven't put out a statement in a while, and I think it's on everybody's mind now, it's just that this school year ends, so I think that it would probably, we were over communicating
Yep.
nonstop, and it's been a while, so maybe our, as the end of school year approaches, or we're already talking about planning for a safe environment for your child for next year. Our plan is to blah, 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 blah.
And the blah blah is the blah.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, and I think, Karen makes a good point that, parents are kind of looking for this, looking for, what to expect. Clearly, the teachers are looking for what to expect. And I mean, they have every right to, at this point, to want to know what is going on, because they have been working their butts off, and I think it's very realistic for them to want to know.
yeah, I think we need to put some type of statement out before school ends anyways. I think
Well, I
it
think we
would be
should,
appropriate at this point to do it now.
yeah,
'cause-
I think we should do it,
Yeah.
sooner rather than later, like
Yeah.
Karen was saying.
Yeah, I
So,
think doing something now would definitely help families and teachers.
all right. So Wayne, can we put out a statement based on kind of our consensus, or do you need like a motion and a vote?
No, I think what you've done as far as your communication plan has worked very well. So as long as that communication, there's
Okay.
no debate in regards to whether we do or don't, that's already been decided. I think it would be appropriate to use that same model, I think, and I
Okay.
agree. I think parents are probably looking for that direction at this
Okay.
point.
What about
Um,
like, I'm sorry, what about like summer education and stuff like that? There's anything that we need to discuss about that?
Well, I believe the summer school program is, Ann, is that kind of similar to what we've been doing? Is that kind of,
Summer school, as I've talked to parents, will be on site. We're not
Okay.
offering a remote version of it. I think the support that our kids need at this time is really
Yeah.
gotta be direct instruction. And the more wiggle room we get them, the longer this is gonna prolong the lagging
Right.
skills.
right? Okay.
So
Would you be willing to work with Wayne's permission, would you be willing to work with Karen on a statement?
Absolutely.
Karen, is that okay with you to work with Julia?
That's absolutely fine. I'd love to do that. Thank you.
And Wayne, that's okay with you?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Can
All
I
right.
also just, could I also just ask the board if we could be mindful of making sure that we put as letting the parents and the students know that we will be revisiting this monthly through the summer, or
Yep.
however
Yep.
often we're going to, just so that they're aware. We could say it now in May, and I would almost guarantee in July, there'll be 100 calls coming in saying, so what's happening in August?
Right, right.
So I think it would be helpful if whatever statement we put out, the statement stays the same unless it needs to change. And we put that out through the summer, not only for the parents, but I also would like to add that I think that's going to be incredibly important for our students to hear that as soon as possible too, because too many students are reminding me regularly that they are just going to stay, they're going to keep it status quo. They're going to stay home.
Yep. No, and I think that, in particular tonight, we've made our intentions clear.
Yeah.
That we are expecting students to be back in the building.
and teachers need it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely they do.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we do have, I see Sarah Burgess and Donna Foster. Is Teresa on?
No, she had something that she working on.
Okay. Sarah, did you or Donna want to add anything, since you guys, so Sarah, you wrote the letter, but you guys kind of representing the teachers union there. Do you guys want to add anything?
No, I have to give the props to Sarah Green. A lot of those points were hers. We just put it into a letter form,
Okay.
but no, I'm all set. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Donna, did you want to add anything in? All
No, I'm all set. Thank you, though.
right, thanks. Okay, so then you and Karen have a project.
Homework.
Oh, this is,
Yellow thing.
oh, that the ELO thing. Ann, do you want to talk about that?
No, I want Karen to talk
All
about,
right.
Karen talked about the ELO invitation.
Oh, yes. Well, I have everybody's, the board's attention. We are having what we would love to consider a mentor dinner, not like our regular mentor dinner, unfortunately, but a small one to celebrate the mentors that did work with our students, and for our students to celebrate the mentors at Delightfully Delicious, where one of our students will be doing his exhibition, and the other two students will be celebrating and thanking their mentors that night. So the invitations are out. We have to keep the numbers down because it's a small space. We have enough space for 20 people and that's it. So we'd like to invite 2 board members. Sean, you don't count as a board member, you count as a parent that night. So
That's my kid, so.
because it's his son. So if 2 of you would like to be there, it's next Thursday. And the invitations, Anne, I'm assuming that they have them or you have them, but.
Anne has them in her hand.
Okay, so next Thursday from 5 to 7 at Delightfully Delicious in Brattleboro. And there's menus, whoever decides to go, if you can make it, great. And you can choose a meal from the menu. If you could do that tonight, so we can let the restaurant know what you're gonna be eating, that would be fabulous.
So who wants to go? Or does anybody?
You don't have to decide tonight. You have to check calendars or anything.
I don't think I can make it next Thursday, so.
You can let me know tomorrow at the end of the week.
We'll leave the invitations here on the table and whoever wants to go
I'll
can
check
pick
my calendar
them
and
up.
see if I
All right.
Oh, I might actually be free that night. Holy moly, it's a Thursday and no game.
Yeah, don't say that out loud.
I know, I might have not written a game down. That seems weird.
All right. Did anyone else have anything to add into the remote learning discussion? No, nothing? Ready to move on?
Yep.
All right. Discussion regarding the SEL checklist. Who wants to kick us off on that one?
I could kick us off. So as the board is fully aware, we've been working with our social emotional learning curriculum. We have Eric Mann, who is our consultant dealing with our behavioral support team and working with the elementary, middle, and high school. When we looked at kind of an empathy type curriculum that talked about courage, advocacy, we chose a program called Choose Love, which is endorsed by the state of New Hampshire. Within that curriculum, of course, we have prerogative, especially when it's a very sensitive issue, not to expose our students to something we feel we're not fully ready to immerse in a way that includes all the backstory, backfill that's needed in something very complicated. So in this case, we had a checklist that was, as I understand it, for the students' reflection. It was not for the teachers sampling, the attitudes of the class or the school, certainly. That's something we would never do. But for whatever reason, it went to 2 students, and it wasn't supposed to be going out to anyone. So I did go to 2 students, and it made its way to Facebook, and so it became very public. And we're dealing with that on an internal level, but unfortunately, it was very problematic relative to the way in which it was discussed in social media. So Anne can certainly answer much more of the detail than I, but it was a 12th grade support for a unit that we don't teach. So it was a mistake. It looks like as I've reviewed what I know as far as the fact finding goes. So it was a mistake, and it did go to 2 students, and it did go out into public. So there's definitely issues that we're looking into in regards to how that happened and make sure that doesn't happen again. So that's what I could say as a kickoff, and I don't know, Ann, if you want to add anything to that.
I would just say, our counseling team worked hard to select the lesson. And if there was ever a stressful year, this was it. Not only, the COVID pandemic, but some people lost loved ones. There's been a lot of stress. And I would say that this mistake was a symptom of extreme stress. The lesson that was selected was not one that we authorized, and it came to me as a complete surprise. So I have apologized to the two students. They did not do it. They did not fill it out. It was given to them for purpose of reflection. They were not asked to fill it out and turn it back in. We didn't collect any data. So the intent from the teacher was to give them a lesson about courage that made them reflect on what's happening in the world. So unfortunately, I don't think it was a well presented activity. And it was given by a substitute, which compounded it.
Did anyone have any questions or comments?
I think when looking at it with the lesson plan, it definitely seems a lot less like, holy moly, what
You
is
can
this?
See where, right, when you read the
Right.
plan. you can
Yeah.
see where-
And it wasn't meant as a handout, it was meant as the teacher kind of giving students something to think about and to kind of check off, more of a visual aid for their own reflection, not as a handout, which I think is a lot more appropriate.
Yeah. Holly, did you have something?
Yep, so my only thing was Anne was said that it was a mistake. So it was, just to clarify, it was a mistake that this particular lesson was presented when it was. It is part of the curriculum. It's not something that, came out of somewhere else, right? It's part of that SEL curriculum.
It is part of the Choose Love curriculum, but the intention of our counselors was to pick a lesson from the grade 11, lesson 1 on courage. The teacher picked a lesson from grade 12. We had no idea, and it was lesson 2. So it was kind of pulled out of sequence. I think, things happen. So
Yeah.
I do think the intent was not to be getting data just to raise awareness, but I was surprised myself.
No, I thought I saw somewhere and going back and forth that the students found it. Is that,
Yeah, other
ha-
students.
can you
I was-
comment
So-
on that?
It was given out, there were 2 students present that morning in that advisory. They left the papers on the desk, they weren't gonna do it. 2 other students came in the room and found it, saw it, and brought it to me and said, we found this. It was all folded up like it was like in a brown paper wrapper. And like they were shocked themselves, and I said, oh, what is this? And I didn't know what it was. So I did have to do some investigating and kind of dig down and find out where did this come from. And as I told the students, we've done some book studies. This might be something that as adults, after a thorough book study and a presentation to really discuss some issues, you might say, hey, look at this. What is this? Are there implications around us for this?
Right.
But I don't think it was appropriately used.
So it's really 4 students, 2 found it, 2 given it.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so which students were apologized to?
Should I name names?
No,
No,
just which group? The ones
All
who
4.
found it?
All 4.
Oh, 4
I
kind of.
apologize to all 4 of them.
Okay.
So I will say, so I graduated high school in 1986. All right, and the reference material here is from 1989.
Yeah.
I will say that for a brief part of my senior year, a brief section of my senior year, and actually in managerial trainings afterwards, I have actually done this program. I've done this exercise.
Yeah.
All right. So I see the use in what was here. I get it because I've done it, and I get that the awareness that it can create. As I'm going through here, I'm like, well, a lot of this stuff is dated, and I don't necessarily mean dated in like, oh, there's no racism anymore, because we know that's just not the case. And I was also looking at it like, wow, there are so many things that can be expanded on this now, as far as it can be, gender versus race. It can be gender identity, versus race. So, I think what made a lot of people angry was kind of the white privilege, checklist.
The title.
And the way that it was worded. I think that this actually could have been a pretty useful exercise had it been reworked a little bit. But I see the value in it, because like I said, I've used it. I've actually used it in the workplace, because to understand what people's perceptions are, I think is actually pretty important. And it's important in customer service and that type of thing. So I get the use in it.
And at the bottom, it actually does talk about other examples of privilege with gender
Sexual
and
orientation
sexual
class,
orientation
Right.
class. So
So the,
But
and,
is there some of the things in there, just like in the IRS, like the kids don't care about the
Right.
IRS, you know?
I mean, well, like I said, presented as is, I could see where people were upset by it. And I was honestly, I was upset, even understanding it, I was upset by it. Okay, so I'll throw that out there right off the bat. It was interesting with some of the comments, online, some of the back and forth, with people who were in favor and people who were opposed. And when you really sift through it, it was, I think maybe a few more opposed than in favor, but it was a pretty even split, I think, for the most part. And except for the occasional aggravation with swears, I think that there was actually pretty good discussion in the community about it, to be perfectly honest with you.
Which is kind of what you want.
Right. And I've heard from my kid that there actually are students who actually want to have the conversation on both sides of the offended and not offended. So I don't know, as much as like when I saw it, I was like, oh my God, I was like, well, but in the end, like days later, after getting more information and stuff, there's an opportunity to have a discussion. And whether or not we do, we don't, that's up to the administrator, you guys do what you want, but just I guess to throw it out there that there are people who are willing to have this conversation for whatever that's worth. No, it isn't.
Things aren't, and that's, you gotta work through the uncomfortable feelings.
Yeah. But it's actually, it's worth, I appreciate the administration, I appreciate Wayne, I appreciate Ann, that you're willing to have a conversation with everybody tonight, and just to, like Julia said before, it's like everyone makes a mistake and it's better to own it and talk about it, than to try to avoid it. So I appreciate that you're willing to. Hey,
Thank
Right.
you.
anything else from anyone on this topic? All right. The diversity plan discussion, who wants to lead us on that one?
So I'll kick that one off. It's this plan, which was mandated a year ago, that we need to have this done by the end of this year. And it's, even though we just talked about ethnicity and diversity with ethnicity, this plan actually reaffirms our commitment to inclusion, and that includes all protected classes, students who have disabilities, gender issues, sexual orientation, age, socioeconomic status, national origin, language. So anything that's would be perceived as being different, this plan would reaffirm our effort to include everyone in our school system. So if you look at the second page, you can see the following conditions that will be developed, and that's supported through a diversity committee, and Julia Fenrich, who's our director of student services, chairs this committee, as frequently, most often happens in districts, because she's dealing with diversity all the time. And she certainly understands the human side of that and understands the legal side. And that's a reality. We're trying to do the same thing. So from here, she would get some names together. She's already talked to a number of people. I just don't know if everybody's committed. And so next month we could say, here's the team that's going to look at this. And it will be, kind of a preschool through grade 12 review, and some of it's assembling data, and some of it's looking at us, how we do juxtaposed to other districts like us. And it's kind of interesting that in our ESSER grants, there will be a big data assemblage that we're putting together. And we'll be looking at some of these things too. They wanted to make sure that, whenever the federal government, that's part of their commitment as well. And they want to make sure that you're delivering on that with the funds that they give us. So it's all coming together at a good time, I think. And it's just kind of the first step if you adopt this plan. We've got another board meeting if we needed, if you feel that this isn't ready, and obviously you can change it any month you want if something comes up that looks problematic. But Julie has done a great job of being the architect of this and looking at some light districts and best practices out there around the country. So I think this is a great place for us to start.
Anyone have any questions for Wayne? I had two.
I just had one, like, maybe. Question concern.
What else?
Okay. So in number 3 of the building policies and practices. So my question, I guess, is this plan saying we don't ever want to use ability grouping? Because I know that can sometimes be a beneficial practice, you know, trying to work on the same skill set. So my only concern was just, are we saying we don't want to do that?
So my
Okay, Julia.
my understanding, I'll kick this off and then hand it over just to the architect, but whenever we're in a classroom, obviously, the teacher is ability grouping all the time, just
Right.
because, you know, this is a story that this group has read and that
Right.
group, but as far as ability grouping as a system and saying you are a level 1, therefore you're only in classes with level 1 kids.
Okay.
You are a level 2, you're only in, believe it or
Oh,
not, Keene High
okay.
School had that model through the 90s until they
Wow.
finally
Yeah.
changed it.
Yeah.
At level
Yeah,
4,
we
they had
don't want
4
that.
and then they had AP, so they had 5 levels, and there wasn't much back and forth, you know, in a lot of those places. So I would like, so Julie, do you have anything you want to add to that component that involves Kayla's question?
No, not really. I think you explained it well, Wayne, because there, you know, the ability grouping is a reality in a lot of classes. But I was in high school in the 70s, and there were sections, section 7-1, 7-2, 7-3. 7-1 and 7-2 were the very smart kids, college bound, you know, all in. And then as we went on up those numbers, then they ability grouped them, and they tracked those kids through their entire 7 through 12 years. So, and the kids to cross over into another grouping or going up in a grouping, never going down. Now they could go down, but they really never went up. And it was something that I was aware of when I was, you know, in 7th grade. So that would be what we're talking about, that we're not doing those ability sections of kids that only expose the, you know, the abilities of one with like abilities. We need to diversify. The kids who have greater abilities need to learn that there are people who don't have as much as they have, and vice versa. The ones with less ability can learn from their peers.
Perfect. That was my only question.
Okay.
So I'm good.
I had that same thing highlighted. so that
Actually,
answered
I
very
had
well.
number 3 highlighted. So I see
I
you,
did
Wayne,
too.
see
I
you.
had
Yeah.
Number 3, I'm like, oh, what's this thing? So good. That was well answered. Thank you.
Jim, anything?
No.
Holly, anything? My only other question on the diversity statement itself, near the end, you know, differences that are in our community, including race, ethnicity, religion, gender, age, socioeconomics, all of that should, and I don't know if this is a thing or not, should we do gender and gender identity?
I thought it was in
Identity
there.
in there or no?
Well,
Is
it's
it?
sexual orientation and
But
gender.
yeah, but sexual orientation and gender identity are not,
Yeah, they're two different.
they're
things.
different things.
Would you
Okay,
like to
no,
do that?
I'm perfectly willing to include that. I thought I had done gender
Okay,
identity, but I guess I did not.
okay,
I will add that in.
all right.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was the only thing that I had.
Okay, so we'll
Yeah.
add that and bring it back next month with the policy number, and that's okay.
Okay, cool.
Great. Good job. Thank you. for
I
your
know,
effort.
this is great.
Yeah.
I think it's funny that we all have the same question. So,
do
so
too.
here's one question, answered like a bunch of our questions.
That
So,
worked out.
And
well.
it is the question that most identifies with my particular job. Right.
All right, is there anything else on that then, Wayne?
Nope.
All right, so let's see, then we're at the COVID-19 discussion.
So just a couple of things, been updating the board monthly. Bad news, the positivity rate, Cheshire County's gone up to 2.5, so almost double what it was for a while, but it's 14 new cases a day.
Keene State did change their operation
And that's
because of their high positivity rate. So they are acknowledging they're playing a large part in this.
I think they've driven this conversation from September.
Yep.
So we know that it's prevalent, but in Hinsdale, since our last meeting, we've had no known cases of students and or staff. I mean, so this is, from our perspective, this is very safe. We also have 90% of the staff that have had 2 vaccines out of 206, and that includes coaches, volunteers,
Oh, wow.
method students. I
Great.
mean, so we've got 21 we don't know of, and they may have been vaccinated, just haven't told us. So the likelihood that it's being passed around staff now is very remote. And Ann is coordinating the 12 through 15, and if it's okay if she could speak to that for just a second.
Yeah, absolutely, yep.
Because that's
What the
new as
response
of
was.
today. We couldn't get it in the packet.
Right now, it looks like at the end of next week, we'll be hosting here a clinic for students to receive their first shot. They'll have to, they're working through the stuff at the Cheshire Medical Center. I should get it. What we'll do is we'll email parents out a link that they have to sign up. Kids will be able to come down from class. We'll be holding it in the gym. And then the next date is going to be right before graduation. And we can open it up from 12-year-olds to 18-year-olds, whoever wants to sign up for it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think it was really good that we were able to host it here. There's
Yeah.
only
Oh, yeah,
a few
that's
That's
super
impressive.
easy. It's super
There's-
easy.
Yeah,
That's
and
amazing.
so I
Well,
think
but-
that it helps for parents not to have to go to Keene
Yeah.
to bring their student to get vaccinated. And I had about 60 people say that they would.
You did, that was my
Yeah.
next question. How was the
Yeah.
response to that email? That's
Yeah.
excellent.
And when I was saying super easy, it's super easy for our students and for our parents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not so much for our HR director who went above and beyond,
Yeah,
so.
So if a student has a bad reaction, we're equipped to handle that?
Yeah, I mean,
The nurse.
the
Yeah, the
nurse,
nurses.
they'll bring their staff here, Cheshire Medical.
Oh,
staff.
okay,
Yep.
okay.
Yeah,
I
they'll
understand.
bring, it's not like I'm gonna give them the shot.
I thought maybe the
Right.
nurses were,
Yeah, that's
yeah, I didn't
what
realize
I
that they were gonna have a whole thing here, so.
Yes,
Yeah, I would've
they'll
thought that
set
too,
up their
too.
whole clinic here.
Cool.
And is that just for our students or are other people coming?
I don't think we want other.
That's,
Yeah,
I
I think-
didn't,
I was
I
gonna
wanted
say-
to make
It
sure
will
it was
only
just
go
our
out to
students.
our parents.
Okay.
So hopefully.
Yeah.
No one will sign, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If they share it and I just don't. I don't think we have any real control over that, do you know what I mean? Because it's gonna be an email link,
Okay.
but I'm hoping that,
I was hoping it would
Right.
just say.
Yeah,
So I
but-
think maybe just say that, like, for our students. Can
right,
we do that?
I will do that,
Okay.
but, but there are maybe some homeschool students or somebody else in
Right.
town that could benefit from it.
Sure.
Yes,
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
that.
that's fine. Yeah.
Hinsdale
Appropriate.
resident.
Yeah.
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 That
Yep.
would be-
All right, cool.
Awesome.
All right. Wayne, was there anything else on the COVID discussion?
No, we covered the remote. I think we've got a good plan. I think we're winding down, having had a successful year. The state's mandating that we account for every class that a student had remote or had in person. And so we're going through some huge record keeping issues. I mean, like
Yeah, it's
everybody.
huge. Yeah.
And it's being mandated by the feds. We are going to, there'll be some overtime we're gonna have to accumulate with this, but we'll pay for it out of our ESSER money, so. But it's, there's no free lunch, and with federal government grants, they throw curveballs sometimes, and this was a big one.
Yeah.
We'll be working on this one for a couple weeks.
Yeah,
It's in
it's in Deb's summary.
Yeah.
She kind of
We
talked
did
about
get a
that
little
bit.
delay on our, it was a May 31st, now we're into June, so they pushed us back. They've given us a waiver at the federal level.
Oh, good.
Well, it's a big ask, so they should.
Right, exactly. Be
Wasn't
a little
gonna get
bit.
done by
right.
May.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any questions for Wayne? No? Jim, anything?
No, I'm good.
No? Holly, you good? All right. So then we have our policy readings. So we have a final reading of policy JLCF, JI, JIC, and JICD. I'm looking for a motion to accept those. All right, motion to accept those as a final, final reading. Any second, any discussion? None? All right, all those in favor of approving those policies as a final reading, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. All right, any other business? Anybody have anything? I have two things. Kayla, anything? Holly, do you have anything? Julian? Jim, anything?
Just that the AGF has a golf tournament, which I mentioned earlier this weekend. So
Who does that?
it's the Hinsdale Education
Oh,
Foundation.
AG, I didn't hear, couldn't hear you the second word.
I'm sorry, yeah. So
Okay, that
that's,
must be what's
we're moving
happening.
forward with that. So.
All right, so I have two things here. So one, you guys have a printout here of the summer hiring policy. It's policy GAA, summer hiring policy for pandemic. Since we are in a pandemic and we have all kinds of hiring that we need to do, I asked to have this printed out. So does anyone have any questions on this? Because basically it's going to allow Wayne to start doing some of the hiring that we need to get done. Obviously, there's the ones that we're going to do with the committees and such like that, but there's other hiring that needs to be done too, and he needs to be able to do what he needs to do. Does anyone have any questions?
I
Holly?
I don't have that. I'm familiar with it, but I obviously don't have the printout. So it starts, was a month specified in that? Of
So
when it,
policy GAA, summer hiring policy / pandemic, to allow the superintendent of schools to do the summer hiring when positions are open to fill the necessary positions. In the case of a pandemic situation, when a regular board meeting could not be held, the superintendent is authorized to hire when positions are open to fill as necessary. So that was reviewed and updated on 4/8/2020. The first reading was 6/14/06. Second reading was 10/11/06, and the final reading was 11/8/06.
I just couldn't remember if there was a date, because we usually start that after the June board meeting, because we used to, usually don't meet in July, so I just couldn't remember, that's all.
And
The biggest problem we have this year is we have a lot of positions that need to be filled. And like, I'm going to use the business administrators as an example. I advertised for that. The advertising closed 4/15. It's now 5/12, and we haven't even started the interview process. So Joe and Ann have to hire teachers, and it's going to be a very competitive market because Winchester is also going to be hiring 8 new teachers. Keene is hiring, Brattleboro's hiring, everybody's hiring, and what is going to happen is we're going to lose people if we have to wait a month to approve them.
I didn't have a problem. I just want a clarification since I don't have it in front of me, that's all.
yeah, and I read it word for word, so
Yeah,
that's.
thank you.
That's the, I figured
Yeah.
that, because it's not long, so I'm like, oh, I can do word by word, and that way you kind of almost have it.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. I mean, I'm, obviously familiar with the policy. We do it every year. I just couldn't
Right.
remember if there was a starting month in it, that's all.
I think if,
Last year it was in May, we started the same thing. After
right,
May.
and I think the pandemic, because the hiring policy for a pandemic, I didn't think had the month anyway. Does the regular summer hiring policy have a month? No?
No,
Okay.
that's the same policy, we just added that.
Just add the one
paragraph.
line? Okay, all right.
Yeah,
cool.
that's why I asked, because we just normally start it, it's summer, but that's why I was asking, just because I couldn't remember.
Yeah.
I wasn't challenging anybody. I was just.
Oh, no, I
asking.
didn't take it. I know
No,
I
I
didn't
didn't
take
think,
it
I
as
didn't
such.
think that you did.
No,
Thank you.
okay, all right.
I didn't either. I was.
Yeah.
Okay, no, I didn't. I'm just saying,
Yep.
I'm totally
Right.
in favor, get people hired as soon as possible, obviously.
So Wayne, you're good? All right. The only other thing that I had, all right, so this is just more of a thought than anything else that I kind of wanted to throw out there. And maybe it's something, maybe it's something more for our goal setting. I don't know, but I just wanted to throw it out there and see what people thought. Because we are going to be having a lot of new positions that we're hiring for, a lot of new administration positions, as well as, teachers and support staff and stuff like that. We're also looking at a bunch of different, policies as far as like a diversity plan and all of these different things. And I'm wondering if there is a way of including some student voices more in some of this, our student reps or student government to somehow be more involved in some of this stuff so that their voices are heard as we're kind of developing some of these things. And I didn't know what people thought about that.
I think especially with the diversity plan, that would be a really great student voice.
Yeah, I don't know so much about the hiring, but.
Well, but
Yeah,
the
no, I don't know
hiring,
about
and that's fine, but I mean, even,
But I think that some of the other stuff on their diversity plan.
Right.
is great.
our policies, I know we were, the dress code was one that we wanted a lot of student voice in, and
Yeah.
then COVID happened, and I think we kind of.
We had student voice at one point when we were talking about the food program.
Yeah.
well, and I remember because obviously we've had student reps come in, since I've been on the board long before, right? And that's fine, and they are telling us what they're up to and all that, which is great. One of the best, I think anyway, the best conversations that we had with the student reps was when they brought up their perceptions of the lunch program. That the quality wasn't what they wanted, or the portions weren't what they wanted, or the pricing or whatever. And I found that to be one of the best conversations that we had. And then we went back afterwards and we took action and investigated and all this other stuff. So I found that particularly useful myself. And as we're looking at a whole bunch of these things that we're looking to do moving forward, it just seems like they should have a voice of some form or another. And I don't know what exactly that consists of, but I just want to throw it out there.
Yeah, I think that would be great, especially with policies. I think hearing their opinions on all of our policies helps inform our can give it a perspective.
Okay.
I think with hiring, we should kind of keep that too.
Well, that's one of the trickier ones, because how much information do you give a student
Yeah, I don't
that's
think that would
confidential,
really
you know what I mean? So that's,
I
but
think our policies definitely would.
however, and I'm just going to use, I don't know what best position, some of our positions may be, what would you like to see in a principal or a vice
Oh, yeah,
principal
they
or
could
something
definitely
like that?
give, like,
You know what I mean?
Input beforehand, like
Right.
what do you
As-
think is important?
As the questions are, because, Anne, help me out with this, because you explained this really well when we were doing the search committee for the assistant principal in your building.
I'm just looking at all your communities that kids could really have a strong voice.
Yeah.
Community connections.
Yep.
and really Facilities.
They'd
You wanna-
probably
you
be
wanna
really
know, what do
helpful.
they think about the bathrooms? What do they think about the way, things are set up? Hasp, we used to have a student on Hasp.
Yep.
So I think it's a fabulous idea. I agree that hiring, there's confidential information.
Right, but
That's
like,
tricky, but I do think, the kid's voice is really important in asking them what meets their needs best.
Yep.
And using your student council for some of this
Yeah.
would be a
Yep.
good idea. But there again, because of the pandemic, we haven't had large. group
Right,
meetings.
exactly. well, one of the things that I was thinking of, when I was on the search committee with you, and we were talking about, developing the questions you were going to ask, and you put forth some of like, what do you want to see? What are the things that you're looking for? Even having a questionnaire to some of the students, what would you want to see in this position or that position? The ones that most directly affect them. I mean, for like Tom's position, what are they going to say? you know what I mean?
But people they have contact with, you really want to know.
Yeah.
Right,
I mean,
right. Right.
I like the committee idea too, getting the students involved in these committees.
And I'll speak for myself, but I would welcome them, students on almost just pretty much any of those committees.
Yeah, I think any committee they really would have, and it gives a much different perspective than, anyone who's on the committee might have. And I think the student council, they know how their whole grade might feel about things, and they all talk about, whenever something's happening, they're all discussing it. So bringing kind of their class's voice, I think would be fun to
Yeah.
kind of intertwine with everything.
Wayne, are you okay with that?
Yeah, I've seen the model for years, and I don't know if they still do that at Keene High School. They always had a student sit in on the initial hiring committee.
Mhm.
The issues around confidentiality, of course, if an employee violates confidentiality, that you have recourse. A student, so you got to be very careful in regards to what you share. But the voice was huge, and actually my daughter sat on one, and on an English teacher at Keene High still talks about it. She was so. Yeah, she really felt like this was important and her voice meant something. And so from a student side, it's a great opportunity and something they probably put on a college application if they do it as a junior. And when it comes down to the actual selection, the hiring manager who does the, background checks and make sure that the references check out, that wouldn't be part where you bring the student in, but the student's in for the majority, including setting the criteria. Here's what's important.
And that's kind of what I was
This
thinking.
teacher,
Yep.
here's what I think is important, and that voice grows the student's voice, and we're all about that.
Yep.
And it gives us a broader input in regards to what's important in the district. So I think it's all good. It is a little extra work on on as far as, and sometimes, we have to be very careful how we select the students. So there's some issues that we could resolve, but I've seen it done and it was very successful. I don't know if they still do it.
Okay, Ann?
I just have one thing I forgot. We are going to need a board member for both the vice principal's position and the director of curriculum instruction and assessment.
And
So the vice principal, I don't think you have to have a board member, you need a parent.
Okay.
right, well, I remember that was an issue with me sitting on that one
Well,
last year.
I went back to the minutes for April
Yep.
and you did appoint your people to that committee. If you go back to April 20th meeting.
Okay,
So we do for curriculum.
You do need somebody for curriculum. That's a district position.
okay. All right.
Last time it was Kayla.
So are you
Yeah.
saying that you do want a board member for the assistant principal or no?
What do you guys want? Because that's why I want to get everyone's opinion on, because like I said, I did it last time. And there were questions, which is totally fine, but I want to see what you guys think, and what you guys want.
I personally think it's appropriate. It's an administrator level position, right?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, so I think it's appropriate personally.
Julia?
Yeah, it's appropriate. I'm not sure if it's necessary or required, but I don't feel strongly either way about a board representation for that position.
Okay.
But I'm fine.
Jim, your thoughts?
I agree with Julia on that.
Okay, Holly?
Yep, I agree with Jim and Julia. I don't really care.
So either way? Okay. All right, so if you want to,
I'll do what I want.
do what you want, Mrs. Freetag.
Writing that down.
You should, we have that for the minutes, so the
I know.
minutes.
It's
so Mrs. Freetag,
recorded,
she can
Sean
do
told you to do what you want.
All right, great. So everybody's like, okay with that student voice idea?
Yeah.
So would it be okay, Wayne, for Ann to kind of poll the juniors and this year's juniors and sophomores, which are kind of like next year's seniors and juniors, to see if there's interest in?
Mhm.
All right,
Yeah.
cool.
On any of our committees too.
Yeah.
I think.
Yep, any of the board subcommittees, I think are fine.
Yeah. Mhm.
All right, well, if nobody else has
Okay,
anything,
constant.
Oh.
Just, I want to say that I love the idea of a student voice.
oh, cool. I kind of had a feeling Karen would, but that's. All right, so then moving on to the financial report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have the report in your packet, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Does anybody have any questions for Tom? Bear with me, 'cause I feel like I had one. So Tom, in your overview, you mentioned DNL Transit. You know, and I know you also had mentioned they're already in the contract for student.
Yeah, for 2026.
Right,
I saw
well,
that.
so my question was, you know, if any proposal, whatever, from DNL Transit was like significantly better, you know, is there any possibility of, you know, breaking one contract and going with another? Is there a penalty? What are the possibilities there?
There are out clauses in the contract, and I would have to read those clauses and bring that information back.
Okay. Okay.
Typically in contracts, we give either party a period of time in which they could indicate their desire to leave the contract.
All right. I wasn't sure about that, so I figured I would ask. Anyone else have anything for Tom? No, nothing? All right.
I think we're all over.
We're all over financial stuff. right
We
now.
don't want to talk about money at all. No money talk. Ever again.
All right, moving on to curriculum. Is Kat on?
Sorry, here I am.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey, does anybody have any questions?
Anyone have any questions for Kat? No?
No, I didn't know.
Holly, anything for Kat? No? All right. Looks like you got off easy tonight, Kat.
Thank you.
All right.
All righty.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kat. Technology.
Good evening. You have my report before you. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Does anyone have any questions for Deb? Holly, anything? No? Kayla?
No, I didn't have anything.
No, there was a lot of information in it, though. Thank you.
A
Jen,
lot
anything?
going on.
No, I'm good.
All right, Deb, looks like you're good for tonight.
Thank you.
I'm busy.
All right, so principals reports, we have the high school first, Mrs. Freetag.
Thank you. We started our New Hampshire SAS this week. 6th grade started yesterday. It went very smooth. It's been rough, like for instance, tomorrow, I know I have 10 staff members out, so we are all pinch
Ooh,
hitting.
that's a lot.
I owe great kudos to Mrs. Killily, who's always helping to create who does what. She's like the master of it. So really, we've got great people and we're filling in as we need. So we've got, right now, we have some very good subs, so I'm relieved about that. On Friday, Kyle Rideout will be in with Wayne Gallagher to do a presentation on why he became an EMT, and he's going to share some of his experiences. We think this is timely right before the prom. My feeling is that some of our high school students are like tightly coiled springs. They've been under so much, and I don't want things to go spiraling out of control. So I do worry about that. So we're going to do a yearbook assembly. It will be virtual also. So the editors and the advisors will present. They'll do something on the stage. It will be recorded. So everybody in the classrooms can see the assembly. That way we don't have all the kids again together. I'm looking forward to a lot of these end of year activities. And I think most of the teachers really are too. So
It's nice to see kind of something that looks a little bit more normal.
it does.
Exactly.
It
I was
looks
reading
normal.
through this and I'm like, now this is what a school year
Yep.
calendar should look
Yes.
like.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
So
of course,
that
the
was-
prom is Saturday. That should be
Yep.
fun. I have never been to the Litchfield Golf Club, so I don't know what to expect. But I think it'll be fun.
Yeah.
Cool.
There at 7 o'clock in the morning if you want.
I'm not gonna be there, so.
we'll give you a tour.
That does not sound like a good time.
Is
7 o'clock at night,
the
though.
tournament where the prom is?
I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
so funny.
Yeah.
Is
And,
it the same time?
If you look at what we're trying to
7 in the
do,
morning.
yeah, for scheduling for next year, I'm anticipating there's gonna be a lot of learning lag. You know, we're not gonna catch the kids up in 1 year. Thinking about ways to, particularly in the middle school, to create create a supplementary time, an intervention block. So we're trying to do some creative scheduling. I think it's gonna work together with math and English teachers primarily, those teachers who teach the period and a half sections. They have an extra half period of prep, so we're gonna try to combine that time. Are very concerned about some of our students who did not respect remote learning. And we've been talking with parents about what will next year really look like? How do we help your child get back up to grade level?
Because they won't have remote learning.
Yeah,
Because
they
that's
will
just
not- they
because
will
they
not
just
have
won't.
it.
They won't.
And they won't be able.
This we're doing, but I think it's really important, but you notice our numbers are way down. We have
Yeah.
2 students in
Yeah.
6th grade.
Yeah, that's good.
So, and the kids, when they return, they're happy to be back. Yeah.
Does anybody have any questions for Ann? Questions for Ann?
No, that's great. And I like that the Hasp is also pitching in to help do some of this makeup work and everybody's really. pitching in
Their
to get
numbers
kids
are
back.
up. Their numbers are up and they're doing a fabulous job.
Anything? Holly, did you have any questions for Ann? Jim, you good?
I'm good.
All right, then, thank you, Ann.
You're welcome.
And
Thank
Mr.
you.
Bogia, what's your turn?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You have my report and answer any questions. Two things I would like to point out though is wrote it on Wednesday and met with the PTA on Thursday, and there were some changes to that.
Yeah.
Got a phone call from preschool on Thursday morning, and there were some changes proposed to that as well. So the PTA first with 5th grade recognition in particular is student voice. They would like to hear from the students, whether they would prefer to be in a more traditional setting in our gym set up like town meeting day was, or to have the newer version over at the drive-in.
They were gonna have the drive, right, okay.
So
that's-
waiting to see with your permission to adjust that schedule, that would, if we were to be in the gym, it would be on June 21st, which is the evening of the last day of school. If it's at the drive-in, it's Thursday, June 24th, which is the day we have reserved. I'm waiting to hear whether I need to set up a rain date for the drive-in for that situation. And then the preschool teachers asked me, because they just felt like they needed to do more. So they asked me to propose that there's only approximately 10 or 11 4-year-olds who would be participating in graduation for the preschoolers. And they asked me if I could propose that we would do something in our elementary school gym for those 10 families where we could spread them out. They each get a kind of a packet of some activities that they would do. Single packaged snacks that would take home with them. Be able to watch the video all together and, do a little presentation of a, preschool graduation certificate to each family that way, rather than the drive-by. So those are two things that in the course of, trying to plan for this, all the unexpected things, this is what happened. I hope everybody could hear me.
Yeah.
So do we need to do like any kind of like vote or board approval on that, or
If
do
there's
we
an
just
issue
say?
that you want, that you may object, this is a point where you want to bring that up. Otherwise, I think the administrative plan makes sense to me.
Okay. All right, thoughts or questions for Joe on not only those 2 things, but his report, but probably those 2 things first.
I just wanted to note and thank Joe again for his help on coordinating the tile project, which was in the report. Again, of the Hinsdale Education Foundation thing that we managed to keep going during the pandemic. So thank you, Joe.
Holly, anything? So everyone's okay with Joe proceeding as he sees?
Yeah, I think
Be the
by now
best
they've got
course.
it down.
Okay.
Good to go with.
I'll keep you informed as to what direction we end up going. And if anybody would like to attend, I'll make sure you know about that.
All right, cool. Thank you very much.
And then I can answer any other questions that you might have.
Any other questions for Joe? No? Everyone's good?
Mhm.
All right, thanks, Joe.
Thank you.
All right, so now we're at the superintendent's report.
Sure, you have my report, and I'm happy to answer any questions. I have to say that there's a lot happening. This is an understatement.
Yeah. All right, questions for Wayne?
Like I said,
I know
it
all
was
of them.
very inclusive.
All of the reports had a lot of information,
Yes.
but everyone explained everything
Yeah,
beautifully.
exactly. I
Yep.
thought the
Yep.
reports were really, really well done. this
Yeah.
time. It was great.
I just had questions about the bullying on page 4, where what at HES, one was substantiated, one was unsubstantiated, and one was still under investigation. And I was just wondering if there was an update to that since the report was written.
Yeah, I'd like to ask Joe to speak to that because he's doing the investigation, so.
Yeah, so based on my investigation with the students involved and the classroom teacher, it has come to the conclusion that at this time, it was unintentional, it was accidental contact, it was not malicious, and that it's not bullying.
Thank you.
Anything else for Wayne? Holly, anything? All right, committee reports. Personnel. I don't think there's anything going on, is there, Holly? No, nothing. Health and wellness.
There'll be another meeting on June 7th, I believe.
Town budget committee.
They do have a meeting. Dennis just emailed about it, I think yesterday. A meeting next Wednesday, the 19th. He wants to do reorganizing, vote for chair, vice chair, review the budget outcome from this year and set a plan for next year's budget. So it's next Wednesday at 6 p.m. at the community center. I can't make it because I have a New Hampshire School Boards Association board meeting. So if Kayla could make it as the alternate, I could send you the info, but it's in person at the community center next Wednesday.
Okay. Let me see. Yep, I think I can do that.
Okay, I'll let Dennis know. Thanks.
Right, staff development.
Oh, that's me. I
Yeah,
was writing stuff down.
sorry.
Yes, we have a meeting on May 20th at 3:30. And so nothing to report now, but there is a meeting coming.
Okay. Legislation, NHSBA.
So I think legislation wise, everybody's focused on the state Senate discussion regarding the budget. NHSBA, there was a call. Well, first of all, the annual meetings are now going to be in October. So that was voted on by all the communities, and that's what they decided. So rather than January and have all the ice storms, it's going to be October. There was a call by NHSBA for motions to consider. And so that's like broader motions that we may want to have NHSBA pick up and advocate for or against certain items. And I don't know, Holly, maybe you can fill that out a little bit more better than I can. But I don't think as a group we've ever submitted a motion that I can recall.
No, we never have in my time submitted a resolution, but they're due in July. I think it's like July 9th or something.
Yeah. So like one of the motions that was put forth by a district was regarding the guns on campus. So that's the type of thing that would get put in and discussed and all that. So it's something out there. I think everybody has an email. If not, I can forward it to everybody. And that's it.
I have one thing if I can add.
Sure, go ahead.
Just today, the board of directors got invited to a meeting on Monday. I think it's going to be via Zoom. Some people maybe over in Concord can do it in person, but a meeting with Senator Shaheen. She wanted to meet with the board of directors to talk to us about the federal COVID funds and some other issues. So I'm going to be attending that meeting with her on Monday, and so I can, if there's anything really exciting, I'll put it in an email. But otherwise, I can report about that next month.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
All right, so Hasp, there was no meeting. Oh, and I skipped over emergency management and Wyndham Career. 'cause
Well,
we
we're
crossed those
skipping
off.
those,
So, yeah,
I crossed them off.
yeah. Selectmen, all right, so the selectmen have been working on their goal setting. Let me think now. Goal setting, they this is like, I was thinking about this on the way here. So I've been to like all the meetings. They have a solar presentation coming in. The planning board's also getting the solar presentation.
Is that the same solar?
Yeah. Megan, did you want to add anything for the selectmen? Because I'm like drawing blanks from your meetings. I mean, I was paying attention, don't get me wrong, during every minute of every last one of them, but
She's not in.
well, I can hear like every other word.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
is there anything you want to update us on for the selectmen?
Can you hear me okay?
Well, kind of here and there.
Oh.
Yeah, no, you're coming in and out.
Sorry.
No, that's all right.
You could type maybe.
Megan, if you have something you want to put in the chat, if you want to type it on out, I can circle back to it. Up to you. Right, facilities?
So facilities met last month. I wasn't able to attend, but in short, so we have the digital sign is still moving forward, so that's good. We talked about the HEF tile program again. Thank you, Joe. So the Johnson controls, we were Sean was able to switch that over to a proprietary system. So that should help us out money-wise. I'm not 100% sure on this, but a heat wheel was we built in-house for the heating transfer system. I think that's in the elementary school. And that should save us quite a bit of money. Filters, swapping out the changing of filters is something we're going to be doing in-house now as regular PM. Again, that should save us some money. We'll be having a conversation also on solar next Friday with Green Lantern. I assume that's the same company that's talking to everybody.
No, actually, that's a different one.
Oh, is it? Okay, perfect. Even better. Yes, so there's a solar discussion going on here. We're participating. We'll be discussing that and trying to see if there's anything we can do. And I think that possibly if we wanted to next year, during the school year, if we wanted to have a facilities presentation as part of the community connections, I think I mentioned this at the district meeting. I think with all the positive things we've done over the past year, in an effort to again show the community that we're transparent, it might be a good idea to choose a facilities presentation. So it's just an idea, but you know, it might help during budget conversation.
Yeah, that takes half of my community connections report.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. And for community connections, yeah, Jim and I were, chatting before district meeting, and I think that's actually probably a really good kind of presentation to put out there, something that we can, even if we're having a forum and people like don't attend, because not a lot of people attend the forums, to record it and put it out there and have it, I think would be very beneficial, because as you're hearing on these facility reports, we've been hearing them for months now. The way the buildings are operating right now is a huge savings. There's a huge savings in the efficiencies. And I think that's actually a really good, piece to put out there. The other thing that I was thinking about too, because this has come up before and it came up again at this last town meeting, is, why the school district doesn't have a whole bunch of warrant articles. And to, I think, put out there to really explain to people before the next town meeting, why we don't have a whole lot of warrant articles, I think is actually probably also a really good presentation that we can do, that we can, have a forum, and if people don't attend, to record and put out there. But I think Jim's idea, and I'm kind of really leaning towards that, warrant article idea, just to put some informational pieces out there. And I don't know what everyone else might think about that, but.
Yeah, I think both of those would be
Good ones.
beneficial, and people might not watch the meeting as they happen, but I've heard many.
They go back and
people-
look at the recordings.
And so many people have said how they go and watch the recording, especially if they hear anyone talking about it, then they wanna
Right.
see what happens, so I think that's super beneficial and gets a lot more people.
Right.
And Megan did.
Yep,
great.
Megan, so Megan's thing for select board, not too much to update. We are reviewing our communication goals this next Monday. We will continue regularly reviewing throughout the year and planning how to achieve or improve on our goals, starting with communication. Thanks, Megan. All right, cool. So moving on to behavioral support teams, Kayla and Julia.
Joe, do we have another meeting planned? I was looking and I couldn't find it.
I don't believe we did set a date.
So we must have skipped that. So
Okay.
should we do that, or we can put, you want to ask dates that are good for people?
Why don't I try and set it up, and I'll
Yeah.
throw out some.
It would be good if we could do it, Joe, once we get, his counselors and ours are working with some program people to talk about costs and product. So if we have some data on that we can maybe share with the committee to bring to the board for a decision, that would be good.
That would be perfect.
All right, and that brings us to joint loss. Holly?
Nope, nothing.
Nothing, okay. All right, citizens' comments. And do you want to run the wheel there?
Deb Tribuco,
All set, thanks.
Karen Thompson,
All set, thank you.
Erica,
All set.
Sean Robinson,
All set, thank you.
Anna,
All set, thank you.
Patty,
All set, thank you.
Megan,
All set, thank you.
iPad, Alex Duso, Catlin, Marilyn,
Okay. All right, so with that, I need a
Fine.
motion. I'm sorry, go ahead, Marilyn.
No, I just said I'm fine, thank you.
Oh, okay.
Someone's in the waiting room now.
Thank you.
So we'll see if Sarah has anything she wants to add. Sarah, did you want to, we're doing citizens' comments, do you want to add anything? Sarah Green, did you want to add anything? You're muted.
She said no.
No? Okay. All right, then I need a motion to go into non-public.
I'll make that.
I'll second.
All right, motion and battling, dueling motions, in a second to go into non-public. Roll call,
Yes.
yes,
Yes.
Yes.
and Holly said yes.
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 So I guess I'll need Joe and Ann in regards to our committee stuff.
Okay.
Call. Oh, yeah, we have.
Yeah.
Don't forget to stop the recording.